So after working on a 2.5-hour video for 4 months, I decided that it's probably best to make a shorter video. So I decided to make a continuation of my Mario Kart DS kart rankings video and take a look at the vehicles from the game after Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii. Now, I plan on making a more detailed video about Mario Kart Wii in the future, since it is a really interesting game that still has a strong player base after nearly 20 years. But to keep things short, Mario Kart Wii really helped revolutionize the series. For one, the game introduced the use of motion control, along with the iconic accessory of the Wii wheel, which made the gameplay of Mario Kart feel realistic, as when you tilted the Wii remote, the vehicle will also go in that same direction. Mario Kart Wii will also make major improvements to online play, as not only could more players join, but it also made the game more worldwide, as you could play with players from across the world. But the major addition Mario Kart Wii made that is important for this video is the introduction of bikes, as not only did it increase the options you could choose, but also helped change your playing style as well. To make a long story short, bikes introduced inside drifting and wheeling, and as a result, inside drifting bikes made karts and outside drifting bikes irrelevant. But like in my Mario Kart DS video, we won't be ranking each vehicle based entirely on stats, because if we did, this video wouldn't last very long. Instead, I'll be mostly focused on how the vehicle looks, and we'll be mentioning stats that make the vehicle interesting. I will also mention my favorite color combination of each vehicle, since it changes the look depending on who your character is. So with that being said, let's begin. To start off our rankings, we have the standard bike. Much like in Mario Kart DS, every character in all 3 rate classes in Wii have their own standard kart, as well as the newly introduced standard bike. To be honest, there's not really a lot to say about the standard bike, since it looks like an average dirt bike, and with its stats being average, as well as also being an outside drift bike, it's not something that you will see much in online play. As for my favorite color combination of the bike, I'd probably say Baby Luigi and Luigi for the small and medium rate classes, since the green looks really nice, plus the promotional pieces of Luigi on the bike makes it very iconic and nostalgic. As for the large rate class, I'll say Rosalina's is my favorite, since the turquoise and yellow looks really nice. So yeah, with the worst vehicle in the game being okay overall, it just goes to show how strong the vehicle selection is in Wii, since I enjoy the majority of them. Up next, we have the Zip Zip. Much like the last entry, the Zip Zip is another average looking bike. As for its stats, the Zip Zip has really good handling and can do great on off-road tracks, but has a horrendous drift stat. My favorite color combination of the Zip Zip is probably Diddy Kong, since the red body with yellow stripes really makes the bike stand out. So like the standard bike, the Zip Zip is another average vehicle, but just gets a slight edge due to its fun sounding name, as well as being based on a wheel bike, the Benelli 650 Tornado. The Bit Bike is another standard looking bike, but I really like how small and condensed the bike looks, which makes sense considering it's meant to be a small weight bike. Speaking of which, this bike has excellent stats for beginners, as this bike has high acceleration, handling, off-road, and mini turbo stats, so you can pretty much make small mistakes without getting punished too much. However, with the Bit Bike being one of the lightest vehicles in the game, plus the slowest, it's not really a vehicle where you can front run a lot in. Plus with the vehicle being light, it's very easy to get bumped off the track, so it's not used much competitively. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with Koopa Troopa, since the light green really looks nice, plus with this being Koopa's signature bike, I just had to choose his. I'd also like to shout out Toadette's as well, since the violet looks really nice. So overall, the Bit Bike is a cute looking bike, but it's really fun and easy for beginners to use and get into the game. classic dragster is the first kart to appear on this list. Look-wise, the kart looks very similar to a 1930s sprint car, as well as the cucumber from Mario Kart DS. However, I think I like the look of the classic dragster more, due to the kart looking more defined and the stripes also being a nice touch. As for the kart stats, it's very similar to the standard kart, with no stat being below average. However, the classic dragster does have above average acceleration, handling, drift, and mini turbo stats. So it's a vehicle that's great for beginners. It can do great on tracks with a lot of turns. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with peach, since the pink stripes, along with the golden tailpipes, give the kart a very sleek and royal feel. So overall, the classic dragster is a nice kart with a solid design, along with some pretty decent stats. The Sugarscoot is a really unique bike in the game, since it's the only bike that looks like a motorized scooter. I also like the star emblem on the front, as well as the boosters on the back, as it gives the bike some personality. But Sugarscoot also has some interesting stats, with its handling, acceleration, off-road, and mini-turbo being above average. However, since it is the lightest and slowest medium-weight vehicle, it's not used very often. My favorite color combination is probably Birdo's, since I love the pink star with the black outline, plus the boosters kinda remind me of Kirby for some reason. I'd also like to give a shout out to Bowser Jr.'s and Diddy Kong's designs as well, since they're both really nice. Overall, the Sugarscoot is one of the more interesting vehicles in the game, due to its unique design, as well as having some really off-balance stats. The standard kart should be pretty self-explanatory if you're familiar with the Mario Kart series. It's the default kart in the game that is very friendly to beginner players and has average stats overall. However, unlike the standard kart in Mario Kart DS, Wii's has a different design. Most notably, the standard kart has a big bumper on the front, as well as a checker pattern on the side, which I think gives the kart more personality, and in my opinion, is the best version of the standard kart in the entire series. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Baby Mario and Mario for the small and medium rate classes. Like Luigi in the standard bike, Mario in the standard kart was used in a lot of promotions for Mario Kart Wii, and the combo is easily one of the most iconic in the entire series. As for the large rate class, I'll probably have to go with Rosalina again, since the turquoise and yellow color combination is really strong. So yeah, Wii's standard kart is just a really solid vehicle, and it's probably the best iteration of the kart in the series. The Day Tripper is another interesting kart in the game, as it's supposed to resemble an open roof horse carriage. The design is very royal, with the fancy design of the kart, as well as the paint job looking really nice. Stat-wise, the Day Tripper is very similar to the Sugarscoot, having above average handling, acceleration, off-road, and mini-turbo stats. However, with its speed and drift being low, it's not a kart you'll see often. My favorite color combination is probably Birdo's, since the purple color makes the kart look very regal. I'll also give a shout out to Yoshi's combination as well, since the aquamarine also looks really nice. So despite the Day Tripper having very poor stats, it still has a very unique and royal look that makes it stand out in the game. The Sneakster is the first inside drift bike to appear on this list. It has a really unique design, since the bike is relatively long and flat, with a large headlight on the front. In fact, this bike actually resembles the Moto Guzzi Le Mans sport bike. Stat-wise, the Sneakster is one of the best vehicles in the entire game, due to being an inside drifting bike and having the second highest speed stat for a bike in the game, along with solid rate and drift stats. However, with its acceleration, handling, off-road, and mini turbo being low, it is a very hard vehicle to master, and as a result, players often use other substitutes in competitive play. For my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Diddy Kong again, since red and yellow is a really strong combo, but Bowser Jr.'s is also really solid as well. So while the Sneakster is the top vehicle in the game, it's still a really slick and fun bike to race with, if you can master it. The Spear is another inside drift bike. I really like the aerodynamic look of the bike, as the long point front makes the bike look really sleek. It's also based off the Moto Guzzi V8. The Spear's stats are also similar to the Sneakster, with it being the fastest bike in the game, as well as having a pretty good rate stat. However, all of its other stats are not that great. But with the Spear having a higher speed stat than the Sneakster, it actually is viable on time trials. In fact, the Spear holds world records on tracks with very few turns, like Luigi's Circuit and Peach Beach. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably choose Wario's, since the yellow and purple looks really nice, but I'll also give a shout out to King Boo's as well. So yeah, the Spear is a really sleek and hard bike to master, but if you can master it, especially on tracks with few turns, it's easily one of the funnest bikes to play in the entire game. The Mini Beast is a very appropriate name for this kart. As well it is a small rate kart, it still looks like a powerful hot rod, with having a big engine on the front, as well as huge exhaust pipes. Its stats also backs its name and look, as the Mini Beast is often regarded as the best kart in the small rate class, having a high speed, drift, and mini turbo stat, which are arguably the three most important stats in the game. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to choose Toadette's, since Origin Hot Pink really makes this kart stand out. Overall, the Mini Beast is just a really cool kart that just looks badass, and is very fun to race with, due to its high speed and mini turbo stat. I really love the inclusion of the Wario bike in the series, since it's based off of Wario's chopper in the WarioWare series, and just seeing something from that series being in Mario Kart is just really cool. However, stat-wise, the Wario bike is pretty mediocre. While it does have pretty good rate, acceleration, handling, and mini turbo stats, its drifting is pretty bad. And since it only has average speed, and is an outside drifting bike, you won't really see it as much. As for my favorite color combination, I of course have to go with Wario, since it's literally his bike, but I do have other combinations that I like, including Waluigi, Bowser, King Boo, and Funky Kong. While it is a disappointment that the Wario bike kinda sucks, I still think it's a really cool addition to the series, and I would love to see it return in the future. But Tiny Titan reminds me of a lot of the Mini Beast, in the fact that they're both small karts that have badass names. However, its appearance is quite different, with the most noticeable feature being its huge monster tires, which I think will be a huge inspiration for a kart part in future games. Speaking of which, this kart is actually based on the monster in the Famicom Grand Prix series, as well as the body of the kart being based on the Volkswagen Beetle, which I think is a really cool throwback to include in the game. Stat-wise, the Tiny Titan is a really solid kart. While it does have a little drift stat, all of its other stats are average. However, the Tiny Titan does have great speed and off-road stats due to its tires. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably say Toad's, partly due to the fact that I think the red tires and blue body goes well together. But I also really like Toad's monster truck in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I just had to pick him because of that. Overall, the Tiny Titan is just a really fun kart to race with, due to its unique look, and the fact that the off-road doesn't bother you too much. The Mach bike is a very cool and unique bike in the series, as its tinted glass, along with its sleek look, is very reminiscent of a sports bike. In fact, it's actually based off of Harley-Davidson's XRTT Road Racer. The Mach bike is easily the best medium weight vehicle and arguably the best vehicle in the game, since it holds 7 world records on time trials and is played often by experienced players. The reason the Mach bike is so good is not only due to it being an inside drift bike, but it also has really high speed, drift, and mini turbo stats. So you are able to take tight turns while going really fast, but due to its low handling, it'll take time to master. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with Daisy. Not only is the sunset orange a really nice color, but Daisy the Mach bike is just a really iconic combination in the series, due to its promotional work, as well as being the second most popular pairing in the game. So overall, the Mach bike is a really sleek and fun vehicle to race with, due to making tight turns and going fast. The Phantom is a bike that's just really cool. Besides its name being badass, it also has a really awesome and unique design with its booster in the back. In fact, the Phantom is actually based off of Harley-Davidson's Road King. Despite the Phantom looking really cool, its stats are actually some of the worst in the game. While it does have above average weight, handling, and off-road stats, its drift stat is abysmal. Combine that with the fact that the Phantom is also an outside drifting bike, and you have a vehicle that is extremely difficult to control and race with properly. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably go with Waluigi's, since I really love the dark blue and yellow combo on the bike, but I'll also give a shout out to Rosalina's and Funky Kong's as well. So while the Phantom is a horrendous bike to race with, it still arguably has the coolest name and is one of the most unique looking vehicles in the entire series. The Offroader is easily one of the most intimidating vehicles in the entire series, due to its large size, horns on the front, and spikes on its rims, which I think easily makes it one of the baddest looking vehicles in the series. The Offroader is also unique due to the fact that it uses a camo color pattern, making it resemble a military vehicle. It's also the only kart in the game that is technically capable of wheeling, since after you perform a mini turbo, it will temporarily race on its back wheels. Stat-wise, you'd think that the Offroader will have an excellent off-road stat, due to its name and look, but its off-road stat is fairly average. Actually, the Offroader stats are similar to the Phantom's. It has above average weight, handling, and acceleration stats. In fact, the Offroader is actually the second heaviest vehicle in the entire game. However, like the Phantom, its drift stat is horrible. So if you combine its abysmal drift, along with average speed and mini turbo stats, you get a kart that's somewhat slow and extremely hard to control, making for a painful racing experience. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably choose Bowser, since the green camo is just iconic, but I really enjoy Funky Kong and Dry Bowser's patterns as well. So like the Phantom, the Offroader is another vehicle that is hard to control, but I still enjoy it due to its unique look and overall badass design. The Quacker is the first vehicle on this list that has a very untraditional design, since it's based off a rubber duck toy, but that's just what I love about this vehicle, since it just stands out from the pack. Besides the Quacker being an inside drift bike, its stats are extremely similar to the Bit bike, with having high handling, acceleration, drift, and mini turbo stats. In fact, the Quacker actually has the highest acceleration in the game. However, the Quacker is also the lightest vehicle in the game, and also has a low speed stat as well, so despite the fact that it's an inside drift bike, it's still not seen as viable. due to not being able to hold a lead long and easily being bumped all over the place. But with that being said, the Quacker still has found some success in time trials, especially with tracks with ultra shortcuts, due to its high acceleration and easy handling. With the most prominent examples being the wall climb on Mushroom Gorge and the Ultra on Grumble Volcano. As for my favorite color combination, I really like Baby Daisies, due to the fact that it actually looks like a yellow rubber duck, which I think is really cute. So yeah, the Quacker is just a really weird and adorable vehicle that's really friendly to beginners and is just a really fun bike to race with overall. The Piranha Prowler is another goofy vehicle in the game, as because it's just big and bulky, while also having PD Piranha's face plastered on the front. What makes this cart weird, however, is its mouth, as when you race with it, its mouth will move up and down. In fact, the mouth will actually be wide open when you do a trick, which is just weird since it makes you question if the cart is sentient or not. Speaking of weird, the Piranha Prowler also has a weird stat distribution, as it has high speed and rate stats. In fact, the Piranha Prowler is actually the heaviest vehicle in the game. However, despite that, the rest of its stats are mediocre, so with the Piranha Prowler having mediocre stats, plus just being a huge target, you won't really see it much in competitive play, unless it's just a meme. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to say Funky Kong's, since his looks most like PD Piranha, but I also love the purple on Waluigi's as well. So while the Piranha Prowler may be a very mediocre vehicle, it is still loved by many fans due to just how unique and goofy the vehicle is to the series. The booster seat is another cart with a very unique design, as the car is based on a baby stroller, which makes sense considering it's a lightweight vehicle and most of the characters in the lightweight class are real babies. Stat-wise, the booster seat is extremely similar to the Bit Bike, while it has high acceleration, handling, off-road, and mini-turbo stats. It also has low speed and rate stats. In fact, the booster seat is actually the slowest vehicle in the entire game, so like with the Bit Bike, it's a great vehicle for beginners, but due to its speed, and the fact that it's light and gets bumped around a lot, it's not a vehicle you'll see often. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Dry Bones, since I really love the black and red combo, but I also give a shout out to Baby Peaches, since I like the way her wheels are designed. So like the Bit Bike, the booster seat is also a very friendly vehicle for beginners, and due to its funny unique design, it's one of the more memorable carts in the entire game. The Flame Flyer is another really cool cart in the game. It's basically a muscle car, and is similar to the Brute from Mario Kart DS, but I like the look of the Flame Flyer better, since it looks more powerful with the motor on the hood, as well as the cool flames on the side. The Flame Flyer is also based on Chrysler's Plymouth Barracuda, which I think is just a really cool detail. Stat-wise, the Flame Flyer is arguably the best car in the large rate class, since it has above average speed, rate, drift, and mini-turbo stats, which are in my opinion the four most important stats in the game. However, its other stats are extremely low, and while they aren't as detrimental to the cart's success, it does have the third worst handling stat in the game, so it might take a while to get used to. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with King Boo, since the black body with the pink flames just looks really nice, but there are several other solid options I like as well. Overall, the Flame Flyer is just a really awesome vehicle, due to just how solid most of its color combinations are, as well as just looking badass and having the stats to back it up. The Blue Falcon is another really cool crossover vehicle added to this game, as it's based off Captain Falcon's vehicle from the beloved F-Zero series, which is probably the most attention the series got at the time since its GameCube release. Stat-wise, the Blue Falcon has a high speed stat, which makes sense considering that the F-Zero series is known for its high speed races. However, despite also having average drift and acceleration stats, the rest of the Blue Falcon stats are pretty low, so due to that, it's not a vehicle that you'll see a lot, sadly. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to say it's a toss-up between Baby Mario and Toads, since both of them are blue, and the Blue Falcon is, well, blue. But if I had to choose, I'll probably say I like Toads a little bit more, since I think the red stripe looks better than the brown one. So like the Wario bike, the Blue Falcon is another really cool crossover vehicle that is held back due to its lackluster stats, but still, it's great to see some F-Zero representation in Mario Kart. The Sprinter is another vehicle with a very sleek and fast look, since the car highly resembles a Formula 1 car. In fact, the Sprinter is actually based on the Alfa Romeo 183T, which is a pretty cool detail to add. Speaking of which, the Sprinter is also the successor of the B-Dasher. In fact, outside of North America, the Sprinter is known as the B-Dasher Mach 2, which is again another cool detail. By its name and look, you can already guess that the Sprinter has a high speed stat, but it also has pretty decent rate and drift stats as well. However, like the previous entry, its other stats are low, making the kart very uncommon in competitive play. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with Mario's, since the Sprinter is based off the B-Dasher, and the red and white combo just feels really appropriate. You could say the Sprinter will always be in the B-Dasher's shadow, since unlike the Sprinter, the B-Dasher has made its return on Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8. However, I still think the Sprinter stands on its own due to its very sleek and cool design. The Honeycoupe is another really sleek and unique vehicle in the game, since the car has a very sports car feel. In fact, the Honeycoupe is actually based on the combination of the Porsche SK and the Dino 206S, which I think is a pretty cool detail. Stat-wise, the Honeycoupe is very similar to the Flameflyer, with both having above average speed, weight, drift, and mini turbo stats, as well as also being below average on the other stats. However, in my opinion, I think the Honeycoupe is slightly better than the Flameflyer, due to the fact that it's easier to handle. It also has a smaller hitbox, so you won't get hit or mess up as much. As for my favorite color combination, I have to say it's Funky Kongs, just due to the fact that red is my favorite color. However, there are several other really cool combinations, and yours might be different depending on which color you like. So like the Flameflyer, the Honeycoupe is another kart that has good stats, as well as several solid color combinations, but I like the Honeycoupe more due to its more sports-like feel. To start the top 10, we have the Cheep Charger. The Cheep Charger is another goofy vehicle, similar to the Piranha prowler, as both are designed off of Mario characters, with the Cheep Charger being based off of Cheeps. I would actually argue that the Cheep Charger is much goofier than the Piranha prowler, since the kart's big eyes and big fish lips makes the kart look dumpy in my opinion. That's just what I love about this vehicle. I also love that its wings flap when you do a trick, which I think is a cute detail. Stat-wise, the Cheep Charger is very similar to the booster seat, with both having high acceleration, handling, drift, and many turbo stats, while also having low weight and speed stat. So just like the booster seat, it's great for beginners, but due to it being slow and being bumped easily, it's a vehicle you won't see often. As for my favorite color combination, I'll have to go with Dry Bones, since I just love the noir aesthetic of the kart, and it just looks really unique from the other combinations. So while the Cheep Charger isn't a very good vehicle, is still very memorable to a lot of players due to its goofy look and overall charm. It's also a vehicle I hope returns in future series. Not to be confused with the Shooting Star Kart in Mario Kart DS, the Shooting Star Bike is another really cool vehicle in the series. I really like the sleek design of the bike. I also think the star on the front is a really cool detail. Stat-wise, the Shooting Star is very similar to the Honeycoupe, as they both have high speed, weight, drift, and mini-turbo stats. In fact, many argue that if the Shooting Star was an inside drift bike, it would easily be one of the best vehicles in the entire game. But since the Shooting Star is an outside drift bike, it's held back from its potential, and is not a vehicle that is common in competitive play. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with Rosalina's, since I really love the blue and yellow combination as a whole, and with Rosalina's connection to space and Luma's, this bike is just meant for her. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Waluigi's combo as well, since the purple and yellow looks really nice. So while the Shooting Star is sadly held back from its potential, it's still a really cool and unique design in the series, and is easily the best outside drifting bike in the game as well. The Magikruiser is another unique vehicle that is in the series. Like the Cheep charger and Piranha prowler, it's also based on a Mario character, being Mach. However, unlike the previously mentioned vehicles, the Magikruiser actually had more thought put into its design, as Mach's glasses are actually the headlights of the vehicle, and his boom acts as the exhaust pipe, which I think is a cool detail. As for its stats, the Magikruiser is best known for having a high off-road stat. In fact, it actually has the highest off-road stat in the entire game. Also, besides its weight and mini-turbo, the rest of the Magikruiser stats are fairly average. The Magikruiser especially excels at tracks with a lot of off-road, like Sherbet Land and Shy Guy Island. In fact, the Magikruiser actually holds 2 world records, which I think is a cool fact. As for my favorite color combination, I have to choose Toadette's, since her combo is the most recognizable due to having the best off-road stat and holding the 2 world records. I also like Toad's combo as well, since it reminds me of the Magikruipers from Yoshi's Island. Overall, the Magikruiser is a very unique vehicle, not only due to its look, but also for its high off-road stat and having a niche purpose in the game. Not to be confused with the Flame Flyer from earlier, the Flame Runner is probably the most intimidating vehicle in the game, since the bike has a strong resemblance to Bowser, with the front of the bike having Bowser's face with his teeth showing, which is just badass. Stat-wise, the Flame Runner is easily the best vehicle in the entire game. Not only is it an inside drift bike, but it also has high speed, weight, drift, and mini-turbo stats. You could argue that the Mach bike could compete for the top spot, since its drift stat is higher, but since the Flame Runner is heavier and faster, plus holds an impressive 25 world records, which is over 3 times higher than the Mach bike, the Flame Runner is the undisputed top dog in the game. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with my boy Funky Kong, since not only is Flame Funky the most iconic combo in the game due to just how dominant it is, but it's arguably one of the most iconic combos in the entire series. I'd also like to give a special shout out to King Boo's combo as well, since the red and black combo just looks really badass, especially on a bike as intimidating as the Flame Runner. So due to the Flame Runner looking really badass, as well as being one of the most dominant vehicles in the entire series, it has gone down as one of the most beloved and memorable vehicles, and what I hope makes its return someday soon. The Super Blooper is a vehicle that's pretty self-explanatory, as the card is based on the Blooper enemy from the series. Its body design, however, is actually based on Proportion 11, which I think is an interesting detail. While some might argue that the Super Blooper is a simple idea, I think that the developers did an amazing job designing it, as it balances being both cool and goofy. I really love the aerodynamic look of the vehicle. I think the tentacles moving after a trick is a really cute feature. Stat-wise, the Super Blooper is fairly balanced. It does have a high speed and off-road stat, but besides its terrible drift stat, the rest are average. While it is an above average kart overall compared to others, its drift stat does hold it back from being one of the best karts in the game. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Bowser Jr.'s, since I really like the yellow color of the kart. It's the only combination of the Super Blooper that stands out from the rest. So overall, the Super Blooper is a fairly average kart, with its look and stats not really standing out from previous vehicles, but due to the little details put into the design, it stands out as a personal favorite of mine. The Jet Bubble is one of the most unique looking vehicles in the entire series. I really like the round and sleek design of the bike, as it looks aerodynamic, plus the large spherical wheels of the bike gives it a really futuristic eco-friendly look, which I think is a cool detail. Stat-wise, the Jet Bubble is fairly average. While it does have above average speed and drift stats, they aren't as high as other vehicles. With the rest of the Jet Bubble's stats being average, besides its weight, the Jet Bubble is often regarded as the worst inside drift bike in the game, but still, being an inside drift bike in Wii does make the Jet Bubble more viable than other options. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Baby Peaches, since I really like the light pink color of the bike, and the pink tinted windows also looks very nice and sleek. In conclusion, the Jet Bubble is a bike that has a really cool and futuristic design, as well as being an inside drift bike with balanced stats, make it one of the coolest and funnest vehicles to race with in the game. The Jet Setter is easily one of the sleekest vehicles in the entire series. I really love the design of the kart, as its 3-pointed nose and racing stripe reminds me of a fancy race car. In fact, the kart is actually based on the Le Mans prototype. Stat-wise, Jet Setter has a very interesting stat distribution, with the kart having a high speed and rate stat. In fact, the Jet Setter is actually the fastest vehicle in the entire game, and with its high speed stat, you'd think the Jet Setter would be one of the best karts in the game. However, the Jet Setter's other stats are awful, with the Jet Setter's handling, off-road, and mini-turbo being especially bad, since they're the worst in the game. In fact, they're so bad that many players opt to race with it using automatic drift instead of manual, so they don't lose control as easily. With the Jet Setter's hard handling, plus it also being a vehicle with the lowest stat total in the entire game, it's still hard to see why this is a vehicle that's rarely used in competitive play. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with King Boo's, as the white body with the red stripes reminds me a lot of Mach 5 from Speed Racer, but I also like Rosalina's and Donkey Kong's combos as well. So while the Jet Setter might not be that great of a vehicle, I really do like its cool and sleek looks. I think it's one of the best designed vehicles in the entire series, which is why it ranks as my favorite heavyweight vehicle in the game. The Dolphin Dasher is a vehicle that I personally enjoy playing with a lot, since I think the bike does a good job at being both cool and cute. The Dolphin Dasher is obviously based on the Dolphin character in the Mario series, and before just racing and riding on a Dolphin is just an amazing idea. Stat-wise, the Dolphin Dasher is essentially the standard bike for inside drift, since besides its low drift stat, the rest of the Dolphin Dasher's stats are fairly average, with the exception of its above average speed and off-road stats. In fact, many top Mario Kart Wii players, like TWD98, have described Dolphin Dasher as being a great introduction to inside drift, which I think is appropriate given the fun nature of the bike. For my favorite color combination, I'll probably go with peaches, since pink dolphins do exist in real life and are a really rare and beautiful animal. But I also like the traditional blue of Mario's as well as the light green on Yoshi's. The Dolphin Dasher is just a really fun and lovable vehicle all around, since not only does it have a really cool design, but it's also a pretty competitive vehicle that is friendly to beginners, which I think makes it a vehicle for everyone to enjoy. The Wild Ring is not only the coolest kart in Wii, but it's arguably the coolest kart in the entire series. I mean, the kart just looks really nice and sporty, with the racing stripe on the front, as well as the big spoiler with its flapping rings, which just looks awesome. In fact, this kart is actually based on the McLaren F1 LM, which explains why this kart just looks very sleek and sporty. Stat-wise, the Wild Ring is regarded as the best kart in the game, and is similar to the Flame Flyer, with the Wild Ring having great speed, weight, drift, and mini turbo stats, but also having below average stats in the other categories. However, unlike the Flame Flyer, the Wild Ring's handling is more manageable. With its easier handling combined with its smaller hitbox, it gives the Wild Ring an edge over the Flame Flyer. As for my favorite color combination, I'll probably have to go with Yoshi's, since I really like the white and green colors on the kart, and the red stripe just puts it over the edge for me, but I also like Mario's combo as well. Overall, the Wild Ring is just a really sleek and cool looking vehicle that has great stats to back it up, and for that reason, the Wild Ring is my favorite medium weight vehicle in the entire game. However, there's one vehicle that just gets a slight edge over the Wild Ring and takes the number 1 spot. For my favorite Mario Kart Wii vehicle, as well as my favorite lightweight vehicle, we have the Bullet Bike. What I like about the Bullet Bike is that it does a great job at balancing being both cute and badass. Obviously based on the Bullet Bill from the Mario series, the Bullet Bike is an intimidating bike due to its pointed shape and angry expression. However, it's also cute since it's small, and its clutch fists are kind of adorable, which is the only vehicle in the series that manages to be both badass and adorable. Stat-wise, the Bullet Bike is arguably the third best vehicle in the game, behind only the Mach bike and Flame Runner, with the Bullet Bike having high speed, drift, and mini turbo stats, while also having an average handling stat. In fact, the Bullet Bike also has the highest mini turbo stat in the entire game, with its mini turbo lasting long, plus also being an inside drift bike with great drift stats. The Bullet Bike easily has the best drift in the game. However, due to the Bullet Bike being a small lightweight vehicle, it's easily bumped around by other vehicles, and as a result, is not as common as the other two. But if mastered, the Bullet Bike is a really fun vehicle to race with. As for my favorite color combination, I have to go with Dry Bones, since the classic black bullet bill just feels really appropriate, but I also really like all the other combos as well. So in conclusion, the Bullet Bike is not only a great vehicle overall that has many great designs, but it's also a really cool vehicle that is also cute, which is why it's my favorite vehicle in Mario Kart Wii. So, we finally reached the end of the video. This was a really fun list to make, since I enjoyed the majority of the vehicles in Mario Kart Wii. Even the lowest ranked vehicle on the list is one I felt was okay overall, and that's something I can't say about Mario Kart DS, since some karts were pretty bad. But what I like the most about Wii's vehicles is just how unique each one of them is. Not only are there a countless number of unique color combinations, but each vehicle also has different stats from one another and race in different ways. That's why, in my opinion, Mario Kart Wii has the best vehicle selection in the entire series. Not only because the majority of them are great, But also, each vehicle gives the player a unique experience, and I don't know if I can say that about any other game in the series. So whether you're racing with the Flame Runner, try to be one of the best players in the world, or you're racing as the Cheep Charger, just trying to have fun and troll others, every player will have their own unique experience, and that's the beauty of Mario Kart Wii. Again, I just want to thank everyone if you made it to the end of this video. I also want to thank everyone for watching my videos throughout the year, as well as wish everyone a happy new year, since this is likely my last video for 2024. I hope that next year, I can start to upload videos more often. I even have a few ideas I'm currently working on, which includes continue to rank each vehicle throughout the Mario Kart series, in preparation for the Switch 2. So my next video will probably be ranking each vehicle in Mario Kart 7, which will be interesting to say the least. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say, so until next time, Koopa out.